Welcome to Lost at 3 a.m. Put your phone down, close your eyes, and let this be the last video you hear tonight. Relax, breathe, and let's begin. Tonight, we're stepping into the small but endlessly fascinating town of Pawnee, Indiana, home to some of the quirkiest, funniest, and most heartfelt characters in television history. This is Parks and Recreation, a show about friendship, ambition, waffles, and the power of community. At first glance, Parks and Rec might seem like just another workplace sitcom, a show about a small-town government office dealing with bureaucracy and local drama. But at its core, it's something much bigger. It's about the relentless optimism of one woman, Leslie Knope, who believes that hard work and passion can actually make a difference in the world. It's about the unlikely friendships formed between people who couldn't be more different, from the libertarian Ron Swanson to the entrepreneurial Tom Haverford, from the sarcastic April Ludgate to the happy-go-lucky Andy Dwyer. Over the years, Parks and Recreation evolved from a simple mockumentary-style comedy into something deeply meaningful, uplifting, and unforgettable. It wasn't just about office politics or small-town weirdness. It was about believing in people, even when they make things difficult. It was about finding joy in the little things, whether that's a perfect plate of waffles or an entire day dedicated to treating yourself. And perhaps more than anything, Parks and Rec was a show that made us feel good. It gave us characters who supported each other, storylines that felt rewarding, and a world where even the most absurd moments were filled with heart. Tonight, we'll explore the journey of Parks and Recreation, its origins, its most unforgettable moments, and why, years after it ended, it remains one of the most comforting and beloved sitcoms of all time. So picture yourself in Pawnee, where the Parks department is hard at work. JJ's Diner is serving up fresh waffles, and somewhere in the distance, Lil Sebastian is majestically trotting through a field. Let's begin. Before Parks and Recreation became one of the most beloved sitcoms of all time, it started as something very different, a risky experiment that almost didn't work. In the mid-2000s, Greg Daniels and Michael Schur, the creative minds behind the American version of The Office, wanted to develop a new comedy that captured the same documentary-style humor, but set in a completely different world. Instead of a paper company, this new show would focus on local government, a place filled with bureaucracy, ridiculous town hall meetings, and well-meaning public servants just trying to do their jobs. At first, Parks and Recreation was meant to be a spin-off of The Office, but as the idea developed, it became clear that it needed to be its own thing. The show's creators knew they needed a strong central character, and that's where Leslie Knope, played by Amy Poehler, came in. Leslie was originally written as a clueless and overly enthusiastic bureaucrat, but after the mixed reception of season 1, the writers made a crucial decision. Leslie wasn't going to be the butt of the joke. She was going to be the hero. The first season of Parks and Rec struggled. Critics saw it as too similar to The Office, and audiences weren't sure what to make of it. But rather than give up, the creators reworked the show. Leslie was no longer naive. She was passionate, capable, and genuinely great at her job. The supporting cast was given more depth. The town of Pawnee became a living, breathing character, and the show slowly found its warm, uplifting tone. By season 2, Parks and Recreation had completely transformed into something special. It wasn't just a comedy about government. It was a story about friendship, ambition, and believing in something bigger than yourself. And from that moment on, it only got better. The rest, as they say, is history. At the center of Parks and Recreation is Leslie Knope, played by the incredible Amy Poehler. Leslie isn't just the main character. She is the heart and soul of the entire show. She is passionate, determined, endlessly optimistic, and sometimes completely over the top. But most importantly, she believes, with every fiber of her being, that government can make people's lives better. Leslie Knope is not your typical sitcom protagonist, where most comedies center around flawed, cynical, or self-absorbed main characters. Leslie is the complete opposite. She's hardworking, ambitious, and deeply cares about the people around her. She loves her job at the Parks Department, not because it's easy, but because she knows even small changes can make a big difference. Whether it's filling in a pothole or building a brand new park, Leslie approaches every task with unmatched enthusiasm. She's also one of the funniest and most endearing characters on television. Her love for waffles, binders, and strong female role models is legendary. She has a quote for every situation, whether she's inspiring her team or declaring her love for breakfast food. And her unshakable devotion to her friends makes her one of the most loyal and supportive characters in sitcom history. But Leslie isn't just a lovable goofball, she's also a fighter. Throughout the series, she faces endless obstacles, from corrupt politicians to frustrating bureaucracy. She gets knocked down, but she never gives up. Her relentless optimism is what makes her so special. She believes in people, even when they let her down. She believes in Pawnee, even when it seems like the town is working against her. And she believes in herself, even when no one else does. Over the course of Parks and Rec, we see Leslie's journey from an overly ambitious mid-level government worker to a powerful leader who actually changes the world. She runs for city council, she fights against political corruption, and eventually she goes all the way to Washington, D.C. to continue making a difference. Leslie Knope is more than just a sitcom character. She is an icon. She represents hope, hard work, and the belief that even the smallest acts of kindness can lead to something bigger. And in a world that often feels chaotic, Leslie Knope is a reminder that passion, friendship, and an unlimited supply of waffles can get you through anything. While Parks and Recreation is built around Leslie Knope's unstoppable enthusiasm, the show wouldn't be what it is without the legendary team that surrounds her. The Pawnee Parks Department isn't just a workplace. It's a dysfunctional, hilarious, and oddly heartwarming family. Each member brings something unique and irreplaceable to the group, and together they create some of the funniest and most heartfelt moments in sitcom history. There's Ron Swanson, Leslie's boss, and the ultimate contradiction. He's a staunch libertarian who believes that government should be as small as possible, which makes it hilarious that he's in charge of a government department. He loves steak, whiskey, and woodworking, and he despises any form of efficiency or oversight. But despite all of his grumbling, Ron has a secret soft spot for Leslie, acting as an unexpected mentor and friend throughout the show. Their relationship is one of the most unexpectedly touching dynamics in the series. Leslie wants to expand government to help people. Ron wants to shrink it into nothing, and yet they respect and support each other unconditionally. Then there's Tom Haverford, the office's self-proclaimed entrepreneur and trendsetter. Tom doesn't see his government job as a career. He sees it as a stepping stone to fame and fortune. Whether he's pitching ridiculous business ideas like rent-a-swag or coming up with new ways to treat yourself, Tom is always hustling. But beneath the flashy suits and over-the-top confidence, he's surprisingly endearing. And over time, we see him grow from a cocky dreamer into a legitimate businessman. April Ludgate is the department's resident queen of sarcasm and darkness. She starts out as the uninterested intern who seems to hate everyone and everything. But as the series progresses, we learn that her deadpan attitude hides a lot of love and loyalty. Her relationship with Leslie is one of the best in the show. She pretends to be annoyed by Leslie's optimism, but deep down, she admires her more than anyone. And her romance with Andy Dwyer is one of the most ridiculous yet heartwarming love stories in any sitcom. Speaking of Andy Dwyer is pure, unfiltered chaos. Played by Chris Pratt, Andy starts off as Ann Perkins' lazy ex-boyfriend, but quickly becomes one of the most lovable goofballs in television history. Whether he's falling into a pit, creating absurd alter egos like FBI agent Burt Macklin, or singing ridiculous songs with his band, Mouse Rat, Andy's energy is impossible to resist. His childlike enthusiasm and genuine kindness make him the perfect contrast to April's sarcasm, and together they create one of the most unexpectedly sweet relationships in the series. Then there's Donna Meagle, the undisputed queen of confidence. Donna lives by her own rules, balancing her government job with a lavish, mysterious personal life that no one fully understands. She's the co-creator of Treat Yourself, the best day of the year, and she delivers some of the funniest and most effortlessly cool moments in the show. And of course, there's Jerry, or Gary, or Larry Gergich, the department's resident punching bag. No matter what he does, Jerry always seems to find himself on the receiving end of the office's jokes. But the best part, he secretly has the best life of anyone in Pawnee. A loving wife, wonderful kids, and a peaceful retirement. Jerry wins in the end, even if no one realizes it. Together, this group of misfits, oddballs, and unlikely friends creates one of the best ensemble casts in television history. They bicker, argue, and annoy each other, but at the end of the day, they are a family. And that's what makes Parks and Recreation so special. It's not just about government, or small-town politics, or local drama. It's about people finding their place, supporting each other, and making the world a little better. One weird, hilarious moment at a time. In a town full of quirky characters, Ron Swanson stands alone. He is a man of few words, many secrets, and an unshakable belief that government should not exist, which makes it hilarious that he's in charge of the Pawnee Parks Department. Played to perfection by Nick Offerman, Ron is one of the most unforgettable and beloved characters in television history. Ron Swanson is a walking contradiction. He is the director of a government department, but he actively tries to make sure it does as little as possible. He hates efficiency, progress, and paperwork, yet he is extremely skilled at everything he does. He despises technology, but can build an entire cabin from scratch with nothing but his hands. He barely speaks, but when he does, every word is pure gold. And then, of course, there's his love for breakfast food. If there's one thing Ron Swanson believes in, it's that bacon, eggs, and steak are the only things worth eating. He has zero tolerance for vegetables, considers fish to be practically a vegetable, and once ordered all the bacon and eggs you have at a diner, just to make sure they understood his level of commitment. But beneath his gruff, no-nonsense exterior, Ron Swanson is also one of the most loyal and caring characters in the show. His relationship with Leslie Knope is a perfect example. At first, they seem like complete opposites. Leslie is a passionate government worker who believes in using politics to improve lives, while Ron wants government to disappear entirely. And yet, despite their differences, they deeply respect and care for each other. Ron may roll his eyes at Leslie's enthusiasm, but time and time again, he supports her when it matters most. He's the first to offer quiet words of wisdom when she's struggling, and though he would never admit it, he is endlessly proud of her success. One of Ron's most memorable storylines revolves around his ex-wives, all named Tammy. Tammy 1 is terrifying and controlling. Tammy 2, played by Offerman's real-life wife, Megan Mullally, is pure chaos. And Tammy 0 is his own mother, who somehow makes them both look mild by comparison. Every time Ron encounters a Tammy, his entire personality shifts, and we get to see just how deeply they affect him. But perhaps the most surprising thing about Ron Swanson is his big heart. He may act like a gruff, emotionless mountain man, but in reality, he is quietly kind, deeply loyal, and incredibly generous. He takes April under his wing and becomes a mentor to her, guiding her through life without ever making it obvious. He helps Andy find direction, and even though he mocks Tom's ridiculous business ventures, he secretly admires his ambition. And then there's his love story with Diane, the woman who finally breaks through his walls and shows him that he can be happy without giving up who he is. Their relationship is simple, loving, and perfect, and it leads to Ron finding something he never thought he wanted, a family of his own. Ron Swanson is so much more than just a tough guy with a moustache. He is one of the most brilliantly written characters in sitcom history, a man who seems completely set in his ways, yet grows in small, meaningful ways over time. He teaches us that independence and strength don't mean shutting people out. that true wisdom comes from experience, and that breakfast food is in fact the most important meal of the day. And if there's one final lesson Ron Swanson leaves us with, it's this: never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. Parks and Recreation isn't just a show about local government, it's a show about relationships. Whether it's friendships, romances, or the strange yet deeply loyal bonds between co-workers, the connections between the characters are what make the series so unforgettable. Over 7 seasons, we watch these relationships evolve, proving that sometimes the most unexpected pairings create the strongest bonds. One of the most beloved relationships in the series is Leslie Knope and Ben Wyatt. When Ben first arrives in Pawnee as an auditor sent to cut government spending, he and Leslie immediately clash. He's logical and budget-focused, while she's passionate and refuses to accept limitations. But beneath their professional differences, there's an undeniable chemistry. Over time, their rivalry turns into friendship, and their friendship turns into love. Unlike many TV romances, their relationship isn't based on unnecessary drama. It's built on mutual respect, admiration, and unwavering support. When Leslie runs for office, Ben steps aside from his own career to support her. When Ben has an opportunity to become mayor of Pawnee, Leslie does the same for him. They are equals in every way, making them one of the healthiest and most inspiring couples in sitcom history. Then there's April Ludgate and Andy Dwyer, the ultimate chaotic yet perfect match. At first glance, they seem like complete opposites. April is sarcastic, cynical, and uninterested in almost everything, while Andy is an overgrown child, filled with pure enthusiasm for life. But somehow, their quirks fit together perfectly. Their relationship isn't built on traditional romance. It's built on inside jokes, ridiculous pranks, and an unspoken understanding that they will always choose each other. Andy and April prove that love doesn't have to look a certain way. It can be weird, messy, and completely unexpected, yet still absolutely perfect. One of the most hilarious and heartwarming friendships in Parks and Rec is the unlikely bond between Ron Swanson and Leslie Knope. On paper, they should despise each other. Leslie is an ambitious government worker who believes in public service, while Ron is a staunch libertarian who wants to dismantle the very system he works for. And yet, they are one of the best TV duos of all time. Ron may roll his eyes at Leslie's enthusiasm, but deep down, he admires her drive, her work ethic, and her unwavering belief in making the world better. He might never say it outright, but his actions speak for him. He quietly supports her through every challenge, always showing up when it matters most. Their friendship is proof that people with wildly different beliefs can still respect, support, and even love each other in their own way. Then we have Tom Haverford and Donna Meagle, the self-proclaimed kings and queens of luxury. While many of the Pawnee Parks Department employees are hard-working and serious, Tom and Donna bring something entirely different: pure indulgence and self-care. Their friendship gave us the legendary treat yourself philosophy, reminding us all that sometimes you just need to buy something ridiculous and enjoy life. Whether they're splurging on designer clothes, expensive spa days, or fine dining, Tom and Donna's friendship is built on confidence, laughter, and knowing your own worth. Even the most unlikely characters find meaningful connections. Chris Traeger and Ann Perkins, despite being total opposites, form a surprisingly sweet relationship built on positivity and genuine care. Jerry Gergich, the department's constant punching bag, turns out to have the happiest marriage and family life of them all. And let's not forget Lil Sebastian, the tiny horse who somehow united an entire town in pure love and admiration. At its core, Parks and Recreation is a show about people who might never have met in any other circumstances, but find themselves forming unbreakable bonds. Whether it's romance, friendship, or workplace loyalty, these relationships remind us that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who stand by you, support you, and make life just a little more fun. Parks and Recreation is packed with hilarious, heartfelt, and downright legendary episodes, filled with moments that fans continue to quote and re-watch to this day. The show perfected the balance between sharp comedy and genuine emotional depth, making every episode feel both ridiculous and incredibly meaningful at the same time. One of the most iconic episodes in the series is Flu Season. It starts as a simple plot. Leslie Knope gets the flu, but what follows is one of the most hysterical performances in sitcom history. As she fights through delirium, fever, and complete exhaustion, Leslie refuses to let sickness stop her from preparing for an important speech. Her delusional confidence and absolute refusal to accept weakness give us some of the best lines in the entire show, including the unforgettable, "The flu is no match for me. I have the will of a warrior and the heart of a lion." Meanwhile, Ben Wyatt watches in horror as she powers through her illness, alternating between pure genius and complete incoherence. It's a perfect showcase of Leslie's unstoppable drive and her absolute inability to rest when she needs to. Then there's Lil Sebastian, an episode that highlights just how deeply strange and wonderful Pawnee really is. When the town's beloved miniature horse, Lil Sebastian, passes away, the entire city is devastated, treating it like the loss of a national hero. Ron Swanson, usually indifferent to emotional moments, openly weeps, while Ben Wyatt is completely baffled by how obsessed everyone is with a tiny horse. Andy writes a ridiculous, over-the-top song in Lil Sebastian's honor, which somehow becomes a rock anthem. This episode captures everything that makes Parks and Rec special: small-town charm, absurdity, and a surprising amount of heart. Another classic is The Debate, where Leslie faces off against Bobby Newport, played by Paul Rudd in her city council campaign. What makes this episode so brilliant is how completely unprepared Bobby Newport is. Yet somehow, his charm makes him frustratingly likable. His attempts to form coherent sentences fail spectacularly, but his privileged, clueless personality makes him weirdly endearing and terrifying at the same time. Meanwhile, Leslie's passion and intelligence shine through, proving that she truly deserves to win, even if the odds are stacked against her. Of course, we can't forget Ron and Tammy. Every time Ron Swanson encounters one of his ex-wives named Tammy, chaos ensues. In the first Ron and Tammy episode, we see Ron completely lose control, transforming from his usual stoic self into a desperate, lovesick disaster the moment he reconnects with Tammy too. He gets a ridiculous mustache makeover, fights Tom in the library, and ends up in a full-blown toxic spiral. It's a masterclass in comedy and an absolutely perfect breakdown of Ron's deeply complicated past with the Tammys. And then there's Treat Yourself, the episode that gave us one of the greatest self-care mottos of all time. Every year, Tom and Donna dedicate a day to spoiling themselves with luxurious shopping sprees, fine dining, and absolute indulgence. Their philosophy is simple: treat, self. And in this episode, they take it to a whole new level. What starts as a hilarious excuse for buying overpriced clothes and getting massages turns into something even better, encouraging Ben Wyatt, who is struggling with depression, to finally do something for himself. It's comedy with heart, and that's exactly what Parks and Rec does best. These are just a few of the show's many standout episodes, whether it's Leslie's insane binders of ideas, Ron's woodworking wisdom, April and Andy's ridiculous pranks, or Jerry, or Gary, or Larry, Gergich's endless bad luck. Parks and Recreation is full of moments that make you laugh, cry, and believe in the power of friendship. Every great sitcom has funny episodes, but Parks and Rec delivers something even better. Comedy that actually means something, whether it's a debate, a festival, a bizarre town tradition, or just an ordinary day in Pawnee. These episodes remind us why we fell in love with this show in the first place. Some sitcoms make us laugh, some warm our hearts, and a few do both, while leaving a lasting mark on pop culture. Parks and Recreation is one of those rare shows that transcended television to become a source of inspiration, optimism, and even real-world traditions. One of the biggest ways Parks and Rec impacted pop culture is through Galentine's Day. Originally introduced in Season 2 as a fictional holiday invented by Leslie Knope, Galentine's Day, celebrated on February 13th, is now a real thing. It started as a joke, Leslie gathering her closest female friends to celebrate friendship over waffles and gifts. But soon, women everywhere embraced the idea. Today, it's a widely recognized holiday dedicated to celebrating female friendships, proving that Parks and Rec didn't just reflect culture, it created it. Then there's the legendary phrase, "treat yourself," coined by Donna Meagle and Tom Haverford. What began as a hilarious episode about self-indulgence and luxury shopping turned into a self-care mantra. It's now a universally understood phrase, showing up in memes, online stores, and even mental health conversations. Whether it's buying a fancy latte, taking a day off, or splurging on something ridiculous, Parks and Rec taught us that sometimes the best thing you can do is treat yourself, and do it without guilt. Beyond catchphrases and fictional holidays, Parks and Recreation left a deeper mark through its positive portrayal of government and public service. In an era where politics are often portrayed as corrupt, cynical, or completely ineffective, Parks and Rec did something different. It showed that government, at its best, is about people who truly want to make a difference. Leslie Knope, with her boundless energy and belief in democracy, became an inspiration for real-life politicians, activists, and public servants. Many fans, especially young women, credit the show with inspiring them to pursue careers in politics and civic engagement. Even actual politicians, from Hillary Clinton to Elizabeth Warren, have referenced the show, proving that Leslie Knope's influence extends beyond Pawnee. The series also changed the landscape of workplace sitcoms. Before Parks and Rec, office-based comedies often leaned towards sarcasm, cynicism, and dysfunction. But Parks and Rec showed that a workplace comedy could be funny, uplifting, and filled with characters who genuinely care about each other. Shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Superstore followed in its footsteps, proving that optimism and comedy can go hand in hand. Even after its final episode aired in 2015, Parks and Recreation continues to grow in popularity. Thanks to streaming services, new audiences discover Pawnee every year, falling in love with Leslie, Ron, April, and the rest of the Parks department. It remains one of the most rewatchable sitcoms ever, perfect for when you need a laugh, a pick-me-up, or just a reminder that good people still exist in the world. Some shows entertain us, some inspire us, and a few leave a lasting impact that shapes pop culture and the way we see the world. Parks and Recreation did all three, proving that positivity, passion, and a little bit of government red tape can be a recipe for something truly special. Ending a beloved sitcom is never easy. Some shows drag on too long and fizzle out, while others fail to give their characters a satisfying conclusion. But Parks and Recreation managed to pull off something rare, a finale that felt perfect. It gave us closure, nostalgia, and a heartfelt goodbye to the characters we had grown to love, while still leaving us with the optimism that defined the show from the start. The final season takes a bold leap, jumping forward in time to 2017, where we see how Leslie, Ben, and the rest of the Parks department have moved forward in their lives. Leslie and Ben have thrived in politics. Tom has found success as an entrepreneur and author. April and Andy are growing up, but still just as weird as ever. And even Ron, the ultimate government hater, finds peace running his own national park. But it's the final episode that truly stands out. Instead of a traditional ending, the show takes us on a series of flash forwards, showing us where each character ends up in the years to come. It's a storytelling choice that feels brilliantly fitting for a show about long-term goals, ambition, and the people who shape our future. We see April and Andy starting a family, something April never thought she wanted, but grows into beautifully. We see Tom, after hitting rock bottom, finally rebuilding his career and finding success on his own terms. Donna finds happiness in a career of giving back, and Jerry, after years of being the office punchline, becomes Pawnee's longest-serving and most beloved mayor, proving once and for all that being kind and happy is its own form of success. And then, of course, there's Leslie and Ben. The biggest mystery of the finale is whether Leslie becomes president, something the show cleverly leaves ambiguous. In one of the final scenes, we see Leslie at a public event, surrounded by Secret Service agents. Did she actually become president of the United States? The show never confirms it outright, but the fact that it even feels possible is a testament to who she is. One of the most emotional moments comes from Ron Swanson's final arc. After years of avoiding change, Leslie gives him the one thing he never knew he needed, a job that actually makes him happy. She arranges for him to become the head of a national park, allowing him to spend his days alone in nature, away from bureaucracy and modern nonsense. It's the perfect ending for Ron, a man who always did things his way, but still found happiness through the people who cared about him. The final shot of the series is a simple but powerful moment. Leslie Knope, surrounded by her closest friends, looking ahead to the future with confidence and joy. It's a scene that perfectly encapsulates the heart of parks and recreation. That no matter where life takes you, the people you love and the work you do will always matter. Few shows manage to end on such a perfect note, but Parks and Rec did exactly that. It gave us laughter, tears, and a sense of hope, reminding us that even when a chapter closes, the best is always yet to come. Some shows make us laugh, some make us think, and a rare few manage to do both while leaving a lasting impact on the people who watch them. Parks and Recreation is one of those rare shows. It wasn't just about government work or small-town politics. It was about passion, friendship, and the belief that good people can make a difference. At its heart, Parks and Rec is a show about optimism in the face of absurdity. Leslie Knope never stopped believing in her work, in her friends, and in the power of doing good, no matter how many roadblocks stood in her way. In a world where so many comedies rely on sarcasm and cynicism, Parks and Rec did something different. It embraced kindness, sincerity, and hope. The show gave us some of the most memorable and beloved TV characters of all time. Leslie Knope, the unstoppable force of nature who inspired everyone around her. Ron Swanson, the grumpy, meat-loving libertarian with a secretly big heart. April Ludgate and Andy Dwyer, the weirdest yet most lovable couple in Pawnee. Tom Haverford and Donna Meagle, the embodiment of self-confidence and luxury, and so many more, each bringing something unique and unforgettable to the show. Beyond the comedy, Parks and Rec left behind real-world traditions, lasting quotes, and a legacy that still resonates today. Galentine's Day became a holiday, Treat Yourself became a self-care mantra, and Leslie Knope became a fictional role model for real-life politicians and activists, proving that government, when led by the right people, can actually make the world better. Even years after the show ended, Parks and Rec remains one of the most rewatchable, comforting, and uplifting sitcoms ever made. It's the kind of show you return to when you need a laugh, a reminder to chase your dreams, or just the warm feeling of watching good people support each other. So as we wrap up our time in Pawnee, remember the lessons this show taught us. Dream big, work hard, support your friends, and always, always treat yourself. Thank you for spending your night with Lost at 3 a.m. Sweet dreams, and we'll see you next time.